Just over a month until Election Day, and Donald Trump's campaign schedule continues to be odd. He is not doing as many events as he was doing in his previous campaigns at this point, and he's focusing mostly on red states he's already expected to win, not battleground states. Political analysts and pundits are taking notice.
Trump is not campaigning in swing states. He's not trying to sway new voters, and he keeps going around saying he doesn't even need votes, that they have all the votes they need. In fact, he just did an interview with Fox News where he said he wouldn't run in 2028 if he loses, but then he said, let's just hope we're successful in this one. Not let's hope we win this one, let's hope we're successful. People should think it's weird that Republicans don't seem to care about how bad their candidate is, that they don't seem to care that Project 2025 came out and we can all read for ourselves how awful their plans for America are. And it's weird that so many swing states are suddenly changing election laws and purging voters or making it harder to vote or count the votes just weeks before the election.
And many of these states are controlled by Republican legislatures and have Trump supporters in key election process positions such as Secretary of State and Board of Elections. By the way, the woman in the TikTok video, I Am Politics Girl, is Leigh McGowan. She started doing her no-nonsense rants about politics 9 years ago. Today, her popularity and influence is huge, particularly with younger voters. And everybody is getting a compelling recitation of the voting restrictions now being implemented in places like Pennsylvania and Georgia.
Georgia's GOP Board of Elections just passed a whole slew of new rules, including the biggest one being that they have to hand count every ballot. But they already have a rule that says they can't start counting ballots until Election Day. So counting 5.5 million votes is going to require a lot of time and a lot of staff that many local jurisdictions in Georgia simply don't have. So when the votes can't be counted on time, that's going to give space for the MAGA lawyers to come in and claim the election is defaulted or fraudulent and kick the entire election back to the State House. Or subsequently, the whole state misses the deadline to certify the Electoral College votes, and they either don't send electors from Georgia at all, or they potentially pick their own alternative slate. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court just said that all mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania have to have the correct handwritten date on the outside of the envelope, or the vote inside won't count. I mean, sure, check to see if your envelope is dated correctly, but why would the handwritten date on the outside of the envelope disqualify the vote inside? Doesn't it have to be postmarked and or received by an official agency before even being opened?
Talk about confusion, and that seems to be the point. In key swing states that Joe Biden won 4 years ago, Donald Trump Republicans seem to be preparing to try and gum up or delay the election count on the chance that Kamala Harris wins. And if the Electoral College vote is close and states like Pennsylvania and Georgia matter or are still undecided, an election result in doubt is great for Donald Trump. And that's because if both candidates fall short of 270 electoral votes, the Constitution says the election must be decided by state delegations in the House. Republicans control more state delegations than Democrats. So, do you see what's going on here? After all these years of Donald Trump and his minions claiming with no evidence that Democrats stole the election in 2020, there are growing indications that Trump Republicans are actually preparing to try and steal the election in 2024 by derailing it and causing mass chaos and confusion over how votes and ballots get tabulated. Imagine a scenario where everything depends on, say, the outcome in Pennsylvania, and the margin there is within 10,000 votes. And based on the new calendar law, Republicans start throwing out absentee ballots, usually cast more by Democrats than Republicans, because the date a voter signed the form inside is different, even by 1 day, from the date the local postmaster picked up the envelope and stamped it. Again, here is I Am Politics Girl, Leigh McGowan.
If you have to keep changing the laws to get elected, you're not winning elections, you're sabotaging elections. The whole thing reminds me of that quote by the Russian communist leader Joseph Stalin, who said, "The people who cast the votes don't decide the election, the people who count the votes do." So look around at what's happening in America right now. The Republicans aren't trying to win. They're trying to make sure the Democrats can't win.
Thanks to Leigh McGowan and others, we have been warned. And remember, this isn't just about the presidential election. If election results are dismissed or thrown in doubt, control of the U.S. Senate and the House could also be affected. In Arizona, Republican Senate candidate Kari Lake, who lost her gubernatorial race there in 2020, is still filing lawsuits over that last election. And she is still pushing conspiracy theories and claiming that current voting systems cannot be trusted.
We're trying to get rid of these damn machines that are corrupt. Yeah. Are you guys okay with that? How many of you remember voting back when you showed up and you voted by paper and they counted it and they had the results? They're doing that in a lot of countries now. They've gotten rid of these machines. And so I'm still pushing. I'm the only person running for U.S. Senate, either Republican or Democrat, who truly believes there was fraud in the election in 2020. Does everybody here believe that? Yeah.
Did you notice the Confederate flag in that room? As some degenerates in the South like to say, you just think it's over. And indeed, the battle is already raging in this 2024 campaign. It's not just Democrats versus Republicans. It's facts versus fiction, democracy versus fascism, stability versus instability. And remember, if the voting results from this election are in doubt, that will help Donald Trump and MAGA world. Trump is campaigning without much intensity, not necessarily to win, but to make sure in the end he is successful. Friends, make sure you are registered to vote and make sure your vote counts. By the way, high-profile women who once worked for Donald Trump are now calling him out and humiliating him.
It's very infantilizing, talking about women as though we're weak, we're meek, we need a protector, we need a defender.
On CNN, Alyssa Farah Griffin ripped her former boss Donald Trump over this.
I make this statement to the great women of our country. You will be protected and I will be your protector. Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will no longer be thinking about abortion. So all they talk about abortion.
We just sit around thinking about abortions all day. It just underscores a fundamental lack of understanding for why a demographic that represents half of the country is one that he is struggling so profoundly with.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.